Hello, welcome to a weekly Q&A. This week I'm answering a question that was asked on YouTube, which is about how to communicate when triggered. And haven't we all been there when we're activated, something has happened, perhaps we've got our back up or we're feeling all of the feelings and we say or do something perhaps that we didn't mean or we did mean, but it came out sideways that caused more trouble than you wanted. You know, perhaps you were really trying to get a need met, you were trying to get a point across, and that can really get lost when we communicate from a triggered state. There are lots of tips that I can give here. There are lots of ways that we could understand your situation that's going to support you around being triggered, around what your needs are. But for a YouTube video, let me give you a few tips. So the first one is, if it's possible, of course, all of this is if it's possible, you just want a bit more space when you're triggered, then can you go inwards first? Can you create that space first, so that you're not reacting straight away from that triggered state where you're hyper focused, might not be seeing things clearly, things from the past are coming up. So a really good way to, there's plenty of ways to do it, but a really good way to do it is to resource, to see, can you find anything in you that feels okay, that feels less contracted, that feels neutral. If we can tune into that and be with that, sometimes it just gives us that bit more space to come down from the feeling, even if it's just 5%, and then we're giving ourselves a better chance of how we're communicating. Next, I would say, like, try and notice. I mean, if you can do this in advance, that's really going to help you, but notice what it is. What's the urge in this moment? Is it that you want to demand? Is it that you want to withdraw? Is it that you want to, like, protest, start a fight? Usually those behaviors, I do a lot of attachment work and we see these behaviors a lot, and they're often coming from a place of protection. So I would be asking you, what's the vulnerable thing that you're not saying? And can you find it in you to communicate that in a way, or at least just own it yourself, that this is what's really going on in this moment. This is what is coming up from the past. This is the stuff that's being touched on here. And the last point I would make is to see if you can, again, similar to the first one, but step back without taking this so personally, because the other person, they might have their backup, something's going on for them as well. And who knows if they're maybe falling into some of these behaviors as well. But see if you can stay as much in the present as possible, not get too distracted by things that have happened in the past, by what you're perceiving them to mean, you know, mind reading, making assumptions. See if you can stay with the issue at hand. It's not always easy, but the more you can do that, the more you're going to give yourselves the chance of being able to solve what's actually going on rather than digging stuff up. And if that's happening all the time, then maybe it is about exploring that bigger picture. If you struggle with all of this, as always, I encourage you to come over to my membership, for example, Follow Your Fire. It's got people in there just like you, just like me, and there are space to learn more about this. There's space to share this. There's space to get support from people, and that can really help when we're wanting to go inwards first, self-soothe before like co-regulating and things like that. I hope that is helpful. Do not forget, you're enough, you're lovable, you are so, so worthy, and you're irreplaceable.